Sean "Diddy" Combs, the hip-hop mogul who built a global empire around his Bad Boy Records brand, was convicted on July 2nd, 2025, of 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution for orchestrating drug-fueled sex marathons known as freak-offs. He was acquitted of more severe charges of racketeering, conspiracy, and sex trafficking, which could have led to a life sentence. His crimes involved coercing women, including ex-girlfriends Cassie Ventura and Jane, into participating in extended sexual encounters with male escorts, often under the influence of drugs like ecstasy and MDMA. In this documentary, we dissect Combs' actions through the lens of psychology and psychoanalysis to uncover why he committed these chilling crimes. Why zeroing on Sean Combs? His crimes aren't just shocking. They're a twisted puzzle of power, manipulation, and excess that demands a deep psychological dive. The way he allegedly orchestrated these freak-offs, drug-soaked, days-long sex marathons in luxury hotel suites, reveals a mind obsessed with control and spectacle, making him a prime case for unraveling the psyche of a predator hiding behind fame. Picture this: a dimly lit penthouse, air thick with a haze of drugs, where women are coerced and performing for Combs' voyeuristic pleasure, their bodies pushed to the brink while he directs, films, and revels in their submission. Per the New York Times, he flew escorts as girlfriends across state lines, booking lavish hotels for these orchestrated acts, all while wielding his wealth and influence like a weapon. This wasn't just debauchery, it was a calculated display of dominance, a dark ritual that screams for psychological scrutiny. Let's step back to where it all began. Sean Combs, born in 1969 in Harlem, New York, grew up in a world shaped by loss and ambition. His father, Melvin, was killed in a drug-related shooting when Combs was just 2, leaving him raised by a single mother, Janice, in Mount Vernon. Psychoanalysis tells us early loss can fracture a child's sense of security, per attachment theory, fostering a need for control to fill that void. Combs' drive to succeed, evident in his rise from intern to founder of Bad Boy Records, suggests a compensatory mechanism, where power became his shield against vulnerability. His charisma and hustle, detailed in a 2005 Vibe profile, masked a deeper need for validation, a hallmark of narcissistic personality disorder. Narcissists, for the DSM-5, crave admiration, lack empathy, and see others as extensions of their ego. Combs' empire, music, fashion, TV, screams MPD, with his larger-than-life persona demanding constant worship. But there's more. His alleged violence, per testimony from Cassie Ventura, points to antisocial personality traits where rules and others' feelings are irrelevant. Growing up in a tough neighborhood, coupled with his father's violent death, likely normalized aggression as a tool for survival, wiring his brain to equate dominance with safety. His Howard University days, where he threw legendary parties before dropping out per Rolling Stone, show an early knack for spectacle, foreshadowing the freak-offs that would later define his crimes. Why did Combs target the women he did? His victims, notably Cassie Ventura and Jane, were romantic partners, vulnerable to his influence due to their emotional ties. Psychologically, this is classic predatory behavior, choosing those closest, easiest to manipulate. Ventura, and Randy B. Singer signed a Bad Boy, spent over a decade with Combs, per CBS News, making her a prime target for his control. Narcissists often exploit intimate relationships, using love as a leash. Per testimony reported by the Washington Post, Combs allegedly coerced him into freak-offs with male escorts, using drugs like ecstasy to dull resistance. This wasn't about sex, it was about power, a need to dominate and degrade. Psychoanalytically, this reflects projection. Combs externalizes insecurities, perhaps shame from his father's criminal death or his own failures, onto his victims, forcing them to bear his darkness. The choice of escorts, per The Independent, wasn't random either. Men like Daniel Phillip, who testified participating for free due to Combs' celebrity, were props in his fantasy, feeding his voyeuristic need to orchestrate and control every detail, per the New York Times. His targeting of romantic partners suggests a fear of abandonment, common in borderline personality disorder, where perceived rejection triggers rage. A 2016 hotel video, shown in court per Reuters, captured Combs assaulting Ventura, hinting at a pattern of violence when his control was challenged. Let's walk through the nightmare of Combs' freak-offs, Imagine a luxury hotel suite, New York, Miami, or the Caribbean, draped in opulence but reeking of drugs and fear. Per the Washington Post, these sessions, lasting days, involved Combs directing women like Ventura and Jane to engage with male escorts while he watched, often filming, high on ecstasy or MDMA. Testimony described women exhausted, disoriented, forced to continue despite pleading to stop, per HuffPost. Baby oil, a bizarre detail from CNN, was allegedly used in these acts, with crowds outside the courthouse mocking the verdict by spraying it, a grotesque nod to Combs' depravity. The logistics were chillingly deliberate. Combs paid for flights and hotels, per Dallas News, moving escorts and girlfriends across state lines, acts that led to his Mann Act convictions for transportation to engage in prostitution. Witnesses, including former employees and hotel staff, per Sky News, detailed how Combs' team facilitated these events, booking suites and ensuring silence. Ventura testified about being coerced with drugs, her will eroded, per CBS News. The 2016 video, per Reuters, showed Combs throwing Ventura to the ground, a glimpse of the violence prosecutors said underpinned these sessions. This wasn't party. It was a staged nightmare, a power trip where Combs played God, scripting every moan and movement. What drove Combs to this? Psychoanalytically, his freak-offs were a form of sublimation, channeling deviant impulses into orchestrated spectacles to maintain his public image as a mogul. His need for control screams MPD, but the violence suggests sadistic tendencies, where pleasure comes from others' suffering. Per the DSM-5, sadism often pairs with SPD, explaining his lack of remorse. The addiction model fits too. Each freak-off was a hit, escalating in intensity to chase the same thrill, per testimony about their frequency, reported by The Independent. His wealth and fame, per prosecutors cited in Rolling Stone, amplified this, creating a bubble where he felt untouchable, his employees enabling his crimes like a cult. His childhood loss likely fueled a persecutory complex, where he saw threats everywhere, using violence to neutralize them. The 2016 assault on Ventura, per Reuters, suggests a man enraged by defiance, a BPD-like reaction to perceived abandonment. Psychoanalytically, the freak-offs were a stage for his false self, a grandiose persona masking a fragile core. By filming, he preserved his power, reliving his dominance. The drugs, per HuffPost, weren't just for compliance. They dulled his own guilt, a dissociative crutch to distance himself from the monster he'd become. The voices of those ensnared are gut-wrenching. Ventura, per CBS News, spoke of years of abuse, her testimony about freak-offs raw and tearful. Jane, testifying under pseudonym, described feeling trapped, her will broken by drugs and fear, per the Washington Post. Daniel Phillip, an escort, admitted enjoying the encounters but confirmed their coerced nature, per the New York Times. A former employee, per Sky News, revealed how Combs' team arranged flights and hotels, their loyalty bought by his wealth. The 2016 video, per Reuters, shocked jurors, showing Ventura cowering as Combs attacked, a visual echo of his control. The public's reaction was visceral. Per CNN, crowds outside the Manhattan courthouse sprayed baby oil, mocking the freak-offs, while a Combs family associate wore a shirt reading, "A freako is not a RICO," per the New York Times. Ventura's lawyer, Douglas Wigdor, told E! News or testimony paved the way for the prostitution convictions, though the acquittal on trafficking stung. Combs' family, per E! News, expressed relief for the acquittals, but his 7 children face a fractured legacy, per USA Today. The community, per social media posts on X, remains divided. Some see a fallen icon, others a scapegoat. Combs' world unraveled on July 2nd, 2025, after a 7-week trial in Manhattan. The jury, after 13 hours of deliberation, convicted him on 2 counts of transportation to engage in prostitution, each carrying up to 10 years, per PBS News. He was acquitted of racketeering and sex trafficking, a partial victory that saw him drop to his knees in prayer, per NPR. But bail was denied. Judge Arun Subramanian, citing evidence of violence and drug use, deemed him a danger, per Reuters. Combs remains in jail awaiting sentencing, facing up to 20 years. Those sentences may run concurrently for the New York Times. Dozens of civil lawsuits accusing him of abuse loom, per Reuters, ensuring his legal battles continue. Philosophically, Combs' story is a tragedy of hubris. Nietzsche's will to power fits. His empire was built on dominating others, but his need for control led to his fall. Sartre's bad faith applies too. He lived a lie, cloaking his crimes and fame while denying their harm. His acquittal on major charges, yet continued incarceration, mirrors a moral limbo, free of the worst labels, but trapped by his actions. His story asks, what happens when power becomes a god and human cost is ignored? Sean Combs' crimes, coercing women into drug-fueled freak-offs, wielding his empire to silence and control, reveal a psyche warped by narcissism, sadism, and a hunger for dominance. The image of a hotel suite, thick with drugs and fear, or Ventura's bruised face in that 2016 video, haunts us. Psychologically, he's a case study in how fame can amplify darkness, turning a man into a monster. Philosophically, he's a warning. Unchecked power corrupts and denial festers. As Combs awaits sentencing, his legacy lies in tatters, a reminder that no empire can hide the truth forever.